What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA DFS Early Look. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I, of course, am from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on all the social media platforms listed below or directly at WiseTake.com. If you're looking to take your DFS game to the next level, we are a premium DFS content provider as well as a DFS community designed to help make you a better DFS player. Go check us out. $2.50 all the cost for a day pass, projections, cheat sheet, score plays, live stream Monday through Friday, 40 minutes per lock, up to the lock. And it's all for $2.50 for one day. All right. That being said, if you're new to this channel, welcome. We appreciate you. Please hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notifications bell so that you are notified whenever we put out free content. We do all sorts of free DFS content here. We have also, don't forget, we got the DFS interviews up there. During the pandemic break, we had an opportunity to interview some pretty prominent players in the DFS industry. Players just meaning key components. We also interviewed Kevin Roth at one point, which was really cool. The weatherman, DFS weatherman, will be firing him back up, of course, pretty hardcore come baseball season, which is right around the corner. But anyway, leave some comments on this video, like the video, and most importantly, share the show. Sharing helps us out a great deal. The more you share, the more the nation grows, the more that we're able to put back into our products, including our free content as well. So do us a favor and share as much as you can. All right, it's a new week. We're back at it here. We've got 8 games to discuss. We've got FanDuel and DraftKings pulled up as always. We're going to start things off with Charlotte and Sacramento at Charlotte. My bad. Okay. So De'Aaron Fox's price is up. I'm okay with it, right? Charlotte's defense is not great. LaMelo's price has come down a little bit on FanDuel, meaning like 200, right? He was like 8-7 for a little while. I think this game has all the makings for a game stack. It's fine. I don't usually love stacking early games. I usually prefer to go after the late game, but this is obviously a very stackable game, assuming that the game doesn't get lopsided one way or another. As far as what stands out, you can make an argument for a lot of people here. I think Terry Rozier is 6'9" and 6'7". It's good to see his prices come down. I do realize that Devontae Graham is back. Devontae Graham is only 4,500. Now, he's only played 18 and 17 minutes. You have to wonder if that's just kind of what they're sticking with because it's working for him, because he has been playing well, or if the plan is to get him back up to the 30 minutes that he was playing prior. He's 4'7" on DraftKings as well, so very cheap. That certainly stands out. Cody Zeller is cheap, only 4,300 here against a team that's not good against bigs. In the same breath, I guess you can argue that a similar case for the center on the other side, Richaun Holmes, who's obviously more expensive, but has also been a little bit more proven, whose minutes are a little more solidified in the rotation, especially being Whiteside still appears to be out with the health protocol situation. Marvin Bagley has not shown massive upside lately, and the minutes have been a little bit down, even with Whiteside out, which is a little concerning, but obviously he does have massive upside, so as his price comes down, we want to keep an eye on him for sure. Decent plays here, right? It's a decent game, right? Milwaukee and Washington, a little rematch action. Milwaukee stayed close even without Bradley Beal. They were missing a few people, and they kept the game competitive for a little while. Giannis is obviously a phenomenal play, as he was the last time these guys met. He got 36 minutes in, went for 33 extra points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 64.7 FanDuel points. So he's phenomenal once again in a pace-up environment, or just a fast-paced environment against Washington, who's terrible against bigs. I lean towards Beal. It looks like Beal's going to play. He's not on the injury report. He's 9-8 on FanDuel, 9-4 on DraftKings. He's not played all that well since the All-Star break. Granted, he's only had 2 games. But this is a scenario where if Washington does keep it close, you're going to think that he's going to have to step it up a little bit. Him coming back does, I think, hurt Hachimura's upside. I was big on Hachimura in the last time these guys played because Beal was out. The usage shows he gets a massive increase when Beal is out, but when Beal is in, he just hasn't really done a whole ton. His minutes were up. Now, keep in mind, it was like the perfect storm because Bertans, I believe Bertans missed. Yep. So they were missing some bodies in addition to Beal, which led to him having to step up his usage and led to him playing a bigger role, playing bigger minutes. Westbrook's fine. I don't got to say too much about him, right? Drew Holiday's only 5'8". 32 minutes was good to see. He played really well against Westbrook. On FanDuel, that just kind of seems too cheap. He's 6'5" on DraftKings, and to be honest, even that seems too cheap. I know that he hasn't had the same type of role with this team as he's had in previous seasons with New Orleans, but 5'8" on FanDuel is getting kind of crazy. Bobby Portis was interesting. I like to play Portis in situations where I think the game might blow out. And I didn't blow out against Washington, but he still got 21 minutes and he still got there. If the game were to blow out and he got even more run and the flexibility to play how he wants to play, that upside can be even higher. He's 4.7 on DraftKings. They respect his upside. FanDuel disrespected him at 4K. Mo Wags did not play. Looks like against Milwaukee. He's 4K. Power forward eligible. This is obviously another one of those games, very stackable for sure based off the pace. But we have 8 games to get through, so we're going to keep it moving. New York and Brooklyn into our first 8 o'clock set. So the Brooklyn side is fine, right? Like, I think the Knicks have been playing very good defense. So, like, the Brooklyn side's okay. I'm not, like, terribly interested in them. I think that DeAndre Jordan's actually one of the more interesting guys, maybe even Claxton. Though with Jeff Green back, it does kind of hurt his upside a little bit. But the Knicks have been a good team defensively. Now, the Brooklyn side, they've been pacing teams up pretty dramatically, and their defense has not been good. So Julius Randle is definitely a player I got my eye on. I think he's coming off of a triple-double against OKC. Yes, he is. Played 39 minutes. That was, on the 13th, so he's had a day off, it looks like. Still no Derrick Rose. Something worth noting. Now, what's interesting is to see who starts at point guard for the Knicks. Elfrid Payton did not play against OKC. Elfrid Payton is doubtful, so he came back maybe a little bit too early, and he's right back out again. Now, the reason I say it's interesting is Derrick Rose is out, right? So they've got Frank Nitti, who they have been starting when Rose and him. You can see Frank Nitti barely played, right? So maybe he starts because for defensive purposes, but his minutes have been way down. The person who has been benefiting, or at least who started in his place last time out, was Emmanuel Quickley. I believe Emmanuel Quickley started the second half. 33 minutes for Quickley, 35.6 fantasy points. Either way, I'm going to be high on Quickley. If Quickley is the starter, expect his ownership to be massive. If he's coming off the bench, expect it to still be high, but maybe not as high as it should be. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little optimistic. Alec Burks is only 4-1. His minutes have been up a little bit. Also, with the guards missing, he seems really cheap. So the Knicks seems like a pretty primary point for me, a starting point. Specifically, Alec Burks and Emmanuel Quickley. Right, I'm not really interested in Frank Nitti a whole ton. How much is Burks on DraftKings? Where you at, Burks? 4.4. Still a really cheap price. So I'm definitely interested in Quickley and Burks once again. Quickley a little bit more because of the ceiling, but Burks, it's just too cheap. But I like Quickley a whole ton. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts, but even if he doesn't, I still think he's going to end up playing majority of minutes. They're going to need a guy to shoot a lot. And on top of that, Quickley is kind of the blowout guy. So I'll leave it at that. But those are definitely the standout plays from here. Again, I'm fine with the other guys. I'm fine with these Nets. Harden and Kyrie, I don't need me to talk much about that. Just keep in mind the Knicks are a pretty good defensive team. I do think that their defense suffers with Quickley, so I would lean towards, I would keep that in mind. And a guy like Harden's really going to get people into foul trouble, so I wouldn't play too much into that. But I will tell you that I do like a few of these Knicks, at least a couple of them. San Antonio and Detroit. We've got DeMar DeRozan, currently a game-time decision. He was ruled out for personal reasons. We'll have to see. Oh, man, you had to attend his father's funeral. That sucks. Shout out to DeRozan and his family. Hope all is well. It's a terrible thing. Well, we'll see if he's back or not for this game on Monday. If he's out, big boost to the rest of his teammates. Also a boost to Detroit, hanging in this game a little bit in that sense. Jeremy Grant obviously is in play. This game doesn't scream excitement. But you do have, LMA out, so we have the opportunity for some of these other players to kind of get some more time and see what they have. Derek White has been kind of disappointing. Well, it looks like against Philly, he went out and did his thing. Phenomenal that he would do it on a day where I don't think he was even on a slate. I'm not sure. But anyway, It's fine. Looks like Dennis Smith Jr. is a game time decision. If he's out, maybe you can consider Killian. No, I'm calling him Killian Hayes. Saban Lee. Though I think his last game was pretty atrocious. 17 minutes, did not do very well. If he's back, that's going to boost him out of the rotation. DeLon Wright's only 5-7, right? 31 minutes against Brooklyn was definitely a positive sign. I think DeLon Wright is definitely in the mix today. What is he? He's 5'6" over there. I think he's definitely within reach. He's probably the biggest stand that I see at the moment. Josh Jackson, another player that always more than willing to consider. The minutes have not been high. But his usage has been fine. He's been getting things done on the court. So whenever he's at least relatively cheap, I think we can consider him. I played a lot of Detroit guys against Brooklyn because it was Brooklyn. Not so interested against the Spurs. Their pace has been a lot slower. Keldon Johnson has not played well since his injury, right? And his minutes have been a little inconsistent. Rudy Gay only got 13 minutes against Philly after balling out in 2 straight games. So this game is just setting off some red flags. Don't feel great about it, but at the same time, it could lead to some lower ownership. I'm curious to see what they do when Hamidou Diallo comes back. You know, I guess Isaiah Stewart is the one player that you can kind of really look to, playing backup center minutes. But in general, just after talking about the quickly shit, I don't know, hard to get excited for this one. Next up, we've got the Clippers and the Dallas. We're into the 9 o'clock games. The Clippers and the Dallas. The Clippers and the Mavericks. Luka is going to see some. Well, is Pat Bev even playing? No, Pat Bev is out. So big matchup boost for Luka, who I'm totally fine with, especially with his price being down. Listen, he's not showing the same exact, like, massive, consistent upside he was showing. He's still showing the ceiling, but he's not showing it as consistently as you showed it in years past. I do think this is a spot where you could excel, especially considering we expect the Clippers to be competitive. Paul George is still 7-9 on FanDuel. That seems too cheap. He's only 8-2 on DraftKings. Either way, it seems too cheap. Should be a pretty good spot for Porzingis. The Clippers do not have a lot of real size, so he's coming off of a couple really good games. He had a day off in between. I think I'm interested in Porzingis, but it's been a scary proposition this year. But for tournaments, yeah, absolutely, we can make that consideration. If Pat Bev continues to miss, if Reggie continues to start, I think Reggie's fine in this environment, though it's, we do have other plays that stand out a lot more. So for me, with the Clippers and Dallas, it's kind of the same, right? When Porzingis and Luka are both playing, it's really them two I'm interested in. And same thing with the Clippers. When Kawhi and PG are playing, it's really only them I'm interested in. So nothing's really changed the whole ton here for me today. Pacers, Nuggets. Jokic has been balling. Man, this is not the same Pacers team that we've seen from years past. They've been giving up a lot of fantasy points. Their defense has been atrocious. Jokic has been on fire, man. You want to talk about showing consistent ceilings. Jokic has done a lot of that this year. He's been phenomenal. Granted, his team has been banged up and they're starting to get a little healthy, but he's been awesome. Jamal Murray's only 7-3 on FanDuel. He's 7-9 on DraftKings. I know he hasn't done a whole ton, but we've seen point guards just thrashing Malcolm Brogdon's ass. Speaking of Malcolm Brogdon, he is also cheap. The issue, of course, is this game is in Denver. You got altitude to compete with in addition to being on the road. So I still like Brogdon for the price. I think he is too cheap at 6-7 on FanDuel. Just to give you some insight or comparison, he's 7-4 on DraftKings, which is probably also still within his range. I think that TJ McConnell has not been getting the job done on the upside level lately, and against Phoenix, probably maybe the worst game of his season. But he has shown us that tremendous ceiling. I prefer him in softer against softer defenses, though, full disclosure. Karis LeVert, 4,100 on FanDuel. How much is Karis LeVert? Here. 7K. See, DraftKings respects people's name. They put respect on people's name. FanDuel just disrespects people. Now, I know he only put up 20 fantasy points and played 26 minutes against Phoenix. For his first game back coming from cancer, man, shout out to him for making the comeback, man. That's awesome. He's a phenomenal player. He's great for the league. And this would be really good for the Pacers, who lost TJ Warren for the season. So, shout out to Karis LeVert. But, yeah, you would think that his minutes go up from here, if anything. 401 is just too cheap, man. So, we had talked about quickly who on FanDuel was at the shooting guard position. Now we're talking about LeVert here. I think there's some really solid plays over there on the cheap. Not to mention Burks is over there too, so shit. But I do like Karis LeVert as well. Moving on over. Memphis and Phoenix. We are now into the sole 10 o'clock game. We do have a 10:30, but this is the sole 10 o'clock game. So Memphis is a tough team to gauge, right? They are a team you typically want to attack because their defense has not been good overall. Problem is sometimes they lack the offensive firepower to compete. I think it's a really good matchup for Devin Booker. I think the scoring guards, guys that can shoot, can really go off against this team. Last time they played Memphis, he only got 26 minutes, but he went for 32.5 FanDuel points, just to give you some perspective. So he's 7.5 on FanDuel. He's 8K on DraftKings. I think FanDuel obviously just seems a little bit too cheap. He's fine on DraftKings. He's not really a big double-double, triple-double kind of guy. He's just a guy that scores a lot of points, so it's just straight up. But I do like him nonetheless. John Morant's okay. Really good spot for Joval, right? If he can stay out of foul trouble, that's really where he's hurt himself, is foul trouble. Smashed against Washington, was okay against Denver, and then smashed again against OKC. 7.6 on DraftKings. He's fine. Chris Paul is too cheap at 6.8. I know he's been a disaster. Not even, I guess, right? I'm looking at his game logs now, and like it's a little exaggerative. Now he's 7.8 on DraftKings. It doesn't really do a whole ton. Doesn't move the needle. But 6.8 on FanDuel really opens your eyes. Ayton's fine. Clark's fine. Dylan Brooks. All these guys are fine. And I tell you who is a little disappointing is Jay Crowder, man. 3,900 on FanDuel. He hasn't been starting, but more importantly, his minutes have just been inconsistent, man. Really hard to gauge. But I do think this is a matchup where they could use a guy like him. It all depends on if the game is close. It really does. It really does. So obviously, Crowder may have not have been the best matchup for a guy like Sabonis, who's basically another center playing forward. But depends on how much Brandon Clark plays. Maybe I think he can handle Brandon Clark a little bit better, right? But Chris Paul is too cheap on FanDuel. That we know. Moving on, late night hammer, Lakers, Warriors, LeBron and Steph Curry once again. So LeBron ended up getting 34 minutes despite the minutes seeming a little low. Didn't have the rebounds. Obviously, Indiana does have Turner and Sabonis. They are a pretty big team. Not as big. I mean, much bigger, I should say. Significantly bigger than Golden State. So I think there's more rebounds in it for LeBron. A better chance for a triple-double. I think Steph Curry is fine. He's 9.4 on FanDuel. We know what his upside is. Just coming off a 50-burger against Utah. I'll say it about Draymond again, and you saw it against Utah. If the game's going to be close, if it's going to be a good game, then Draymond's obviously getting some. So I like to reserve Draymond more or less for game stack type situations, or at least, as a bring back if I'm already playing another player like a LeBron who I want the game to stay close with. So I do like Draymond in those scenarios for sure. Kelly Oubre is 6'4". Draymond Green's only 6'5" on DraftKings, not bad. Kelly Oubre, he's kind of come down to earth just a little bit. He's been a little bit of a streaky player, so not terribly excited about him at the moment. Montrezl Harrell has been getting over 30 minutes, right? I think but before the All-Star break and then after the All-Star break, so that was good to see. Only 5'9" on FanDuel and 6'2" on DraftKings. Definitely in play against the Golden State team that is still looking for that rim protector. I'm cool with Dennis Schroeder as well for tournaments. Just cool with it. His minutes have been good. He's benefited from Anthony Davis missing. Kyle Kuzma, man. So he's been doing his thug thizzle. He's been getting big minutes. He's probable, only 5'6". I think he will see some Draymond defense at times. But 5'6" is probably a little bit too cheap on FanDuel for what he's done. Even though he hasn't been starting, he's been the one finishing with starters' minutes. So keep in mind, Marc Gasol is also out, which has led them to this scenario. Wiggins is cheap. He's coming off a really good game against Utah. He's the most scoring dependent of the bunch, it would seem. 5'9" on FanDuel, 5'6" on DraftKings. Markieff Morris has been starting, but the minutes have been a little inconsistent. His scorers has not been. I think he's a phenomenal value play over there each and every day. And then we get to James Wiseman. 23 minutes against Utah, right? We know what his upside is. 3,900 on FanDuel. I'll be taking some shots on him. He's 5'1" on DraftKings. Again, just to give you some perspective. Only 3,900 on FanDuel. And that is going to do it, ladies and gentlemen, for this quick little breakdown in the early look. Be sure to check us out at WiseTake.com. Check out my Core Plays article, which is available to WiseTake Nation subscribers. After I've done some research, I put that out. And then, of course, 45 minutes prior to lock, me and Paulie hop on a live stream for our members, and we break down the slate one last time, position by position, after we've gotten some news, and most importantly, we try to keep you up to date with the news. The NBA is very, very fluid with that shit, so we try to keep everybody updated because every little bit of news matters, man. That being said, hit the like button on your way out. Share the video. Appreciate y'all. Glad to be doing this. Want to keep doing this, but I need y'all to spread the word, spread the message, tell people what we're doing here, and it's all free. That being said, for myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.